Getting through to the final interviews in February is in itself a challenge. That really all turns on the quality of the written submission you put in. And so it's vital that be as free from jargon as possible, less interested in process than in outcomes. And when writing it, you've got to understand, I think, as a consultancy, that whatever difference you've made in your client, that we will be seeing other submissions from other consultancies who've worked in similar clients, perhaps the same client, definitely in the same industry, probably doing similar things, and therefore you've got to stand out against that competition. There'll be a lot of focus, I think, you'll find on sustainability. That was great, but what's happened since then? That was great, but what happens next as a result of this? Deciding who attends the final interview is really important to get that right. If you just go on the grounds of seniority, both of the consulting team and the client you select, they may not be close to the work. They may struggle to convey the enthusiasm, the reality, the real groundbreaking stuff, the real experience of the project in a way that conveys the panel why this project should stand out. For some of the individual awards, it's fascinating that you're there alone without client support and without so much context. What I'm really excited about the consultancy profession is the growing evidence of diversity and inclusion. We see very different types of people coming through to consultancy, and you can see all the stereotypes, but you can see the counter stereotypes at all. But you'll have there are people with a lifetime in the industry oozing deep cultural and client knowledge. You've got the brightest young thing buzzing with energy and intellect, and you've got every combination before. And I'm pleased by the growing evidence of all forms of diversity coming through. I think it's really important for the consulting profession to build on that, and I'm excited that these awards can play a real part in that. The final interview days in February are pretty intense for judges and for participants. You've got to land your messages. You've got to bring the project alive really quickly. And summarise it crisply and effectively. So you want somebody who can do that, who's lived and breathed it, because you can't tell where the judges' questions will go. We're pretty experienced at judging this, and so we will ask the question we hope you weren't expecting. So prepping is important, but actually responding in a sense from the heart, and getting beyond some of the consultancy process and even jargon to talk about the project really meant for you, whether that's the consultant or the client. That's really important on the day. So if the people you put in the room can't do that, that will weaken your response. How to prepare for any interview is actually really hard. How you prepare for these, I think, if you're a consultant, now I was one once, these projects are so intense, you live and breathe them, you speak a private project language, the relationships and the challenges you face are all really important to you. What we find that consultants who come into the room often struggle with is really to step back from that and say, well, we're probably the 5th people you've seen today who've turned around a failing organisation in industry X. What have you learned from this project? How has it made you a better consultant? What will you do differently next time? That's the stuff that lights up a good answer, I think. People who've not been in the process before are often fascinated to know what the actual interview process feels like when you're in the room. You probably only get 25 minutes with the judges. And the key thing from a judge's point of view is we own it. We are not interested in having a sales presentation. We would faint at the sight of PowerPoint. Don't bring it, put it away. We want to put you on the spot. We've read your submission, so we're going to be asking the questions. And if the boss or the client wants to make a big speech about it, we may not handle that as politely as we might, because we're keen to get to the meat and ask the real questions that allow the team to come alive in front of us and stand out from the other teams we've seen that day. So come fresh, try not to blather, operate a bit of discipline as to who's best answering the question, allow one person to answer and stand free. So we want to make it a rewarding conversation. And when we do our job well, which we don't always do, but when we do our job well, we hope that the consulting team will go out at the end of the interview thinking, okay, well actually, I hadn't thought of it that. We've stimulated them to think differently about what for them has been an intense and immersive experience.